What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Shuggy from Sugar Earth Media, and today we are looking at Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Now, after a long time of seeing video game properties that I love getting adapted into mediocre films and television, it is refreshing to be able to say I finally found a good one. Netflix, after this year's atrocious Resident Evil adaptation, has actually delivered an adaptation that is faithful to the original property. And not only is it faithful, I think in some ways it is a step above the video games, and it is accessible to people who don't like video games. So if you're interested in the subject matter and you like sci-fi, dystopian futures and violent stuff like that, and you're interested in the setting, this is the perfect way to introduce yourself to the cyberpunk world. You need no prior knowledge of the universe before we get into the show. They do a great job at really capturing the Night City setting, and they explain everything you need to know as the show goes, almost in some ways better than the game does. So we're going to get into that a little bit, but if you like these kind of movie reviews and TV reviews, definitely hit the sub button and the like button. I would love to hear your opinions in the comment section down below, but we're going to click through a bit of the episode and just review my overall thoughts on the season. I won't be covering explicit spoilers, but we're going to just cover the plot line for the first few episodes, and then we're only going to talk in general about later episodes. So no spoilers here, but I just wanted to show you guys the art direction. So I'm a big fan of the original game. I know that the game had its issues and that people had an issue with the glitchiness of it, the fact that it was overpromised and underdelivered, and there's a lot of very valid criticisms with the game. The one thing that the game did absolutely right, and I don't think anybody has really said otherwise, is the way it looks. And this show does a great job of capturing it. The animation quality here is above and beyond what you would typically see from anime or animation in general. So I'm impressed with the level of detail specifically in the backdrops here. And of course, the violence is very over the top. This is a dystopian world. It's like inspired by noir. There's a lot of corruption, double crossing. This is a violent, relentlessly awful world. It's full of poverty, suffering, and just like corporate greed, to the point that these ambulance drivers here on screen, this is called Trauma Team, and basically you have to be a very rich person to afford these high quality paramedics, whereas most people are forced to use the lesser quality, and they even have lesser options in the hospital. They will only use certain means to bring you back. So there's the corporate greed going on. We got our main character. He's going to a private school, but he's poor, and his mom worked really hard, and she's even doing some shady business dealings as a paramedic. She's taking people's cybernetics, because we're in the future here. We are dealing with humans that are cybernetically enhanced. People get their body parts replaced with mechanical parts, and we have all these headsets, and basically the internet is built into people's brains in a way. You can call people and talk to them without actually physically talking. It's like this telepathic kind of communication. The internet in this world is like a physical place almost. You have to jack into it, you plug into it, and they have to put you in bathtubs because your body gets really hot. And so there's like the cyberspace kind of Tron style world. But our opening episodes are really good at establishing the world and showing the relentless violence of this world. They're just driving on the streets, and here's a gang fight. And this is how a tragedy occurs. And it kind of changes our main character David's life. He loses his mother, who was his inspiration, and she was the one who paid for him to go to school. and this is where the hospital is, kind of explaining to him that they can only get certain services with the package that they have. And here is where he's living, and he's constantly poor. He's in debt. He doesn't have money for rent. He's breaking in the window to get to his apartment, and his mom had stolen a cybernetic part from a cyber psycho. And this is the other part of the concept. One of the big concepts of Night City and Cyberpunk in general is that once you swap out enough parts, you become less and less human. You have less empathy, and eventually you become cyber psychotic. You undergo cyber psychosis, and they basically have spree shooters, and they just go on massive killing sprees, and they're very destructive because of how high powered they are. This is the opening scene demonstrates this. It shows the scene where the part was gotten from, and it's actually what's called a brain dance, which is where you can essentially replay people's memories, and they've been edited by people. But it's basically this universe's movies, except you plug into it, you feel what the person is feeling on the other end. So it's a very intense experience. This is a brain dance of this cyber psycho going on a killing spree, and of course he has blades for arms. He's got rockets. So if you're into the kind of sci-fi stuff, this is a very interesting technological world. Of course, technology is kind of evil in this, but if you like the games, you will see so many shout outs to the games. I mean, we got the same art style. It really is the same. So many of the images you've seen throughout this episode are almost like copy paste from the game in a good way. And this is like the apartment you live in Cyberpunk itself. And it's very clear that they scoured the game for inspiration, and I think it looks phenomenal. So the only thing I would like, and this is with the Cyberpunk game as well, I would have liked a little bit more of that noir, shadowy kind of style with the neon especially, but it's a minor complaint at the end of the day, because I really like this world they've created. It's a very immersive world, and you can see how much richness there is in the backdrop animations and whatnot. So I'm a big fan of this. So when the character is introduced, and he's poor, and we feel bad for him, and he's getting bullied, and then his mom dies, and then he's struggling to adjust, and then he gets in a fight with a bully, and then he decides he's going to not sell the part that his mother wanted to sell, but he's going to attach himself to it. So he basically makes a bad decision, and then the rest of the series revolves around him joining a street gang. And he wants to drop out of school, and because of, he just doesn't fit in there, and now he is part of a street gang. He meets this right here is a funny scene where we get to see the corporate heads. This is the guy who is the father of the guy that was bullying the main character, David, and he's the corpo's like gets sent a video of the event, and then he's like, why are you showing me this? Even though normal humans would be like, what happened to my son? They would get absolutely they would be fucking so furious about it, and he's just completely indifferent, because the greedy corporations are just soulless at the end of the day. And even people, as they modify themselves, become more and more soulless as it goes. So he's stuck in this cycle of poverty, and he meets this girl, Lucy, on the train, and I like their relationship here. It's she's an interesting character, but I don't know the sympathy that you have for David at the beginning erodes very quickly when they are doing crimes, stealing from people, killing people. So they do a lot to build up the sympathy for him, and then they do a lot in the subsequent episodes to go against that. So you are very much watching a show about criminals and bad people doing bad things. So you have to know that going in, but if you're a Cyberpunk fan, you're expecting that. So that's not really a barrier, but for some people, if you need somebody to root for in a show, this might not be the show for you. But yeah, one thing I really like about this show is that they really demonstrate this is a Ripper doc here. This is somebody who adds the cybernetic enhancements to David's body and whatnot. And the cybernetic enhancements are not clean to have added to your body. You have to rip your body open. It's an invasive procedure. There are a lot of things that could go wrong. The game itself does not do a great job at establishing this, in my opinion. It's basically a line of text that's like, this is an invasive procedure that it has some serious side effects, blah, blah, blah. But in the game, it feels like you just walk into the Ripper dock, you get a menu of all the things you got, and then you buy stuff. It just feels like a storefront. You don't get that impression. Here you get to see a little bit more of that. And this really focuses in on the concept that you become less and less human the more chrome you get. They call it chrome in this universe. The more chrome you get, the less human you become. That's what the show is about, more or less. So that's what happens to David over time. He gets more and more chrome. He gets addicted to this stuff. So like I said, it's people making bad decisions. And, you know, I like the relationship between them. I find intriguing. But minor spoiler alert for episode 2. Just a fair warning here before we get into it. But the character Lucy betrays him right away at the end of episode 2. And if it was me, you know, at this point, I don't buy into the relationship. I think it's a terrible idea. I think that if somebody betrayed me like that, sold me out to a bunch of gangsters, I would never talk to them again. But not only does he continue to pursue her, but the relationship between them is one of the core driving things behind the show. So you just kind of have to accept that these characters are doing dumb stuff. But, you know, they're misguided. You know, they're not evil, but they are doing some evil things. And we find out that even the criminal enterprises are kind of run by the corporations in a way, because the fixers, the ones who get the jobs and hire these criminals to do these jobs, they are essentially being paid off by the corporations anyway. So yeah, here's a scene where it's actually kind of a minor continuity error. There's a character that you fight in the game. She's here and she gets killed in this scene right here. And the violence is very over the top in this show. The gore is insane. So if you like that kind of action-oriented stuff, it's honestly a bit much for me, even as somebody who's played the game and stuff. In the game, it's like less over the top. But yeah, so but this character gets killed, and then there's a character later named Adam Smasher who is in the game, and he, spoiler alert for the game, he gets killed. He's the final boss battle, and you kill him at the end. So they kill a character here who's in the game alive, and then they have a character alive who was killed in the game. So it can neither take place before nor after the game. So that's the only minor continuity error. Other than that, it is completely in line with the games. The way the calls show up on the screen, that is straight from the games. The sound effect they use for the calls, straight from the games. The weapons they use, straight from the games. All of the abilities, cybernetic enhancements they have. This is the best advertisement for the game ever, because they are completely aligned, aside from that minor continuity error I mentioned. It's really impressive how many things from the game they managed to weave in here. They have some character cameos. They have cars. They have the weapons. Pretty much all the... Even like Lucy is hacking a door at one point. It's the same hacking minigame from the game itself. There are characters that basically hack into security cameras and can hack people's cybernetics. That is present here, and it looks exactly how it does in the games. So if you're a fan of the game, you absolutely have to check this out. Highly recommend it. You know, and I'm a person, I love this world more than I love the game itself. The game itself has problems. It's like a 7 or an 8. It's probably a 7 out of 10 if I'm being fully honest. But I love the world they created. That is not the issue. The stories they created. They have comic series from Dark Horse that I've been collecting, and I do recommend if you enjoy Cyberpunk at all. They have a bunch of digital ones like that came with the game if you bought it on GOG. but they are also releasing at local comic stores. They got all these different series, and they're continuing to do it. So I highly recommend these. If you like this show, I recommend these comics. And I just wanted to show off this because I got it for $5 at GameStop. But we got Johnny Silverhand here. This was $5 at GameStop on clearance, so I thought that was kind of fun. So I just wanted to show that off. But yeah, like everything about this is just awesome if you're a fan. I mean, it's gonna feel very familiar. I will say, like, the first 2-3 episodes, I absolutely loved. It was like perfect 10 out of 10 almost. I mean, we got this creepy looking villain who's got 3 eyeballs. He's voiced by the guy who played Gus in Breaking Bad, Giancarlo Esposito in the English speaking version. But yeah, so I like these characters. I like the animation style, the color schemes. Everything's perfectly in line. And the music is excellent too. A great mix of licensed music. They actually do use music from the games. I love this intro. And they got Akira Yamaoka doing original score for it. And Akira Yamaoka is the composer from the Silent Hill series. And that's some of my favorite soundtracks of all time. I have Silent Hill 2 right here because of how much I love it. It is always in the background on my set. So I'm a huge fan of his music. And, you know, I'm not sure exactly what his contributions were. Like, a lot of it's licensed tracks, like I said, but the music was great. The only, like, real minor complaint that I have about the show, other than the fact you lose sympathy for the guy fairly early, I feel like if they drag that out a bit more, it might be a little bit more effective. You know, maybe he's trying to steal to raise money for a good cause. That would have done well if he's making sure to pick his targets based on people he knows are guilty. That would have worked a little better. You know, you can kind of assume that the people he's fighting are guilty, but they don't really do enough in the show itself to really portray that. So it just feels like he's kind of partaking in evil. But the only minor complaint I have is they do this kind of panning across the scene and the dialogue, you hear it in the background. They do this for a very specific reason. This is to save money on animation, and I don't blame them at all for doing it. This is a very expensive show to animate. There's a lot of finer details in the environment. Like I said, it's well above the standard for shows of this type. So I'm willing to accept a little bit of that. But it's something worth mentioning that they do that somewhat frequently. Not in the first 3 episodes because they want to really suck you in, but after that they do it pretty much like once an episode. So that's a minor takeaway, but I think it's perfect, man. I really love. I mean, if you play the games, you're gonna know all the gangs, you're gonna know all the weapons, you're gonna absolutely love it. Even the computer screens look the same. Like it's just perfectly in line, and we haven't had a good game adaptation maybe ever. So this is a violent, despicable, disgusting, disturbing world, a profane world where, you know, sex and violence is everywhere you look, and it's not a good place to live. It's corrupt, it's impoverished, it's horrific. Yeah, I like a lot of the side characters too. Like, a lot of them are fun. There's one called Rebecca who's like kind of the classic anime yelly character. So there's some anime tropes in here, and you know how you feel about anime. It's a little bit less cringy than the typical one, I will say. But yeah, so I'm definitely the kind of person that might criticize that character type in general, but I like it. This character who's the head of the gang, Mercer, you know, he's also getting chromed out. He's also addicted. He's also verging on cyberpsychosis at times. So it is a little bit hard to watch characters you know are making the worst possible decision, and then, oh look, it's the consequences of my actions. So that's the only real minor complaint I have about it. But this is the world that they live in. You know, it's not a pleasant place to live, and you have to adapt to the changing situation. So as it is, this is one of my favorite new shows of the year. I can't even really think of another show other than Better Call Saul that got me this excited. And it makes me want to play the game again, which I haven't thought about since I'm 100% in this game. I did every side quest and everything. So I haven't even thought about it much since then, other than the comic books and stuff. and this is really making me want to play it again. So, yeah, I mean, the action scenes are over the top and insane. It's a crazy, crazy ride. So it's a lot of fun. And yeah, like minor criticisms here and there, like I said, but overall, a stellar, stellar Netflix release. And I never thought I would see the day that a video game adaptation did the right thing. But shouts out to CD Projekt Red for producing this and overlooking it and making sure that it's in line with their franchise. And shouts out to Trigger, the studio that produced it, because they did an amazing job. And that's my review of Cyberpunk Edgerunners, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And with that, it's been your boy Shuggy, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. With that, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.